So now that we have created our production environmental file, we will start to edit it. So we will try to go one by one on each of the needed environmental variables. They are more or less categorized or grouped by function. So let's try to have them in one go. So the first one, the top one, is Mergin based URL. So this should point to your domain or subdomain name where you will be hosting your Mergin Maps installation. In this case, we are doing a local deploy, so you can simply omit it or making it like localhost for now, which is okay. But in a normal deployment should be the URL or subdomain URL that you have available for your Mergin Maps installation. Next is the administrator contact email. So this should be only the email about some administrator. So for example, a person or mailbox dedicated to issues related with your Mergin Maps deployment. Whatever the case, you can have it here. So in this case, I will have like a fictitious mergin.com URL here. So for now, we will not use any contact email for now, because we will not be having the email yet configured, only on a later stage. This is related with the Flask application, so you can ignore this and move on. So this is basically the log level of GeoDiff. If you are experiencing some issues, you should raise a little bit the log level in order to make it more verbose, in order for you to check what might be going on with some synchronization problems. So you can set this one time, and if you set it on a higher stage, you need to redeploy the container. So this is the maintenance file path. So all these paths are relative to the container. So here data means the data folder inside the container. Here, so let me go here to the, so it's this part here of the compose file. So this is the host directory, and this is the path for the container side directory. So bear in mind that here you need to specify the container side of the directory. The same thing for temporary dir. So also set it on the container side of the directory path. If you change it on the compose file, of course. If not, you can leave it as it is. Here are some environment variables that are not documented, and also you should not need it unless that you do development on top of Mergin Maps, as in the case of the Swagger UI API. So you can put it into true if you want to see the API in a Swagger user interface mode, but for now you should omit this environmental variables. Here on this part section here, we'll have the DB related environmental configurations. So in this case, the important thing to realize is that if your organization already has a general central Postgres or PostGIS database already running, and you don't want to have another extra database for the Mergin Maps application to run, of course you can omit the database service that we provide as part of the stack, and you can redirect your database to that specific server where you are running on it. So in this case, instead of db, so db points to the service name of the compose file here, so this is the service for the database. Instead of having here db, you should have like a kind of an IP address or a mydb server my.org if you have an URL ready for it. So here is where you will have that change. For now, I will leave it as it is. Of course, the password and the username is a bit here, not in line, a bit under here. You should also change, because the normal one and default one are Postgres. Also bear in mind that this is the connection level for the Flask application where Mergin Maps runs on top of. So if you provide a different, if you want to provide a different username on the default database container that we provide, you should change them here first at this level. So you can see here that it is being set on the environmental level already. Database name for the application, named Mergin, a user, and a password. So if you want to change it, first change it here and then change it here on the connection level. If you are using your own database, as I explained previously, you should change the host, the user, and the password as well here, and probably also the port, because most of the cases on the enterprise level we usually don't use the default ports for this specific platform database type of things. Here there are also some in this case I will not make any change. I will leave the default ones, as we are doing a small local installation for testing purposes. On this side you also have some additional settings that you probably will need to set also if you have larger teams, such as the pool size of your connections, the overflow, the pool size here, sorry, the overflow here also setting, and the pool timeout if there are a lot of concurrent connections, or if you have if you want to have the pool with limited time, let's say if you have very high concurrency. In this case, if you really need to change the SQL Alchemy database URI, which is, as I said, by default the backend that we use here on Mergin Maps, if you really need to change it, you can do it here, but in most of the cases it should be okay just to change the host, user, password, port, and maybe some tweaks on the pool size of the connection should be sufficient. Here is the next step, which is related with the authentication. If you want, by default, one of the things that you can change probably on a more enterprise level is to remove the self-registration on your platform. So you should be aware that this is the environmental variable to do it. So user self-registration, you should set it to false in this case. And here are secret keys, security bearer salts, email salts, password salts that you also need to change. In this case, I will use just the same key or salt in everywhere, but of course you should be aware that you need to have very good and safe salts and keys here. So I can go to a salt generator website, for example, just to randomly get one string. I advise you to have more than 32 password length salts or passwords, something like this should be good. Because for security reasons it's better to have this kind of level of salt characters. As I said, I will do the same for every one of them, but you should have a different one in each one, just to save some time here on our side. Next is the Flask email settings that I will not go through right now. For now, we will just deploy the instance without having the email running. So I will just enable this one. So to disable the sending of emails, so you can set the Mergin Maps with or without mail support. In this case, for now, we will leave it without, and we will dedicate a small video about it. Data synchronization. So by default, the local projects are again under the data folder. Remember that this folder here relates with the container side. So always remember that if you change this, you need also to change it here on the environment variables as well. If you have very high concurrency in between the synchronizations or a really high number of users in your team, and they have frequently syncing at the same time, etc., you might need to tweak a little bit here on the file management level. So file expiration, log files expiration and stuff like that. Probably having a smaller value here will make the trick in order not to get the syncs blocked in for some users, or in some extreme cases having the syncs broken because of partial syncs in between. Moving on, here are on the salary side. So by default we use Redis as our broker. If you are not experienced with this type of protocols, you should leave this as it is. Of course, if you have like your own broker and it's compatible with salary messages, of course you can change these settings to new specific broker, but this is not supported by us by default. So you are basically on your own on this case. But just to mention that there are here some options that might enable you to use a dedicated Redis instance on some server, for example, instead of relying off the instance that we have here on our compose file as a service here. But this is really for some really very specific use cases on very big organizations, and probably with the project sizes of a lot of data traveling in between your survey users, desktop users, and the Mergin Maps platform itself. Things that you need to be aware that might be helpful for you to make the synchronization run faster is the concurrency level of the salary daemons here, currently set to 2 by default, which is more or less the minimal specs that we have on the host machines. If you have machines with more CPUs, you can grow this number in the magnitude of around the same number of the CPUs that you have on your host machine should be okay, and should be and should enable you to provide faster things to your users. Also, the multiplier, read some documentation about it. I would not go too much above the multiplier of 4, because this might endanger the stability of your system. So leave it as 4, or in some cases, if you have many concurrent synchronizations and your host machine is quite slim in terms of CPUs, better to have this in a low number, like 2 should be way more than enough for almost use cases. Here are the lifetime expirations for specific things inside the platform. So the account expiration is like if you have an account deleted on Mergin Maps platform, you have still sometimes, this case time is specified in days. So you have a kind of a window where you can still recover all these account related project files, etc. So I would guess that maybe having a 2-day to maybe 1 week here expiration would be good in order to deal with certain aspects that might not be entirely, let's say, when you deleted an account, it was not meant for that specific user or for another user, or the user did not communicate well that he was still holding some data in the platform and did not yet sync everything back, for example. Here, by default, also you have the deleted project expiration. So every time you delete a project on the user interface side, the project is flagged to be deleted on a given time span, again in days here, and the default case for Mergin Maps it's like 7 days. So the project is not really deleted yet. It's marked to be deleted in 7 days, and this will allow you to have like some kind of communication between the end users to really make sure that the project is to be deleted. So, for example, if you have a large server with a lot of disk size, etc., and you are just doing some regular house cleaning and you are not really bothered about the disk or the amount of data that lives on your server, and there is not planning to be a major project within a certain timeline, you can provide like a 15-day period until the project is really deleted, in order to safeguard some of let's say projects that are deleted, but there is not yet a backup or something like that on your users level or on your system admin's side. So in this case, I will change this for the account expiration for 4 days, the delete project expiration for 15 days. This is just to show you what are the basic things that we have here. Here, organization invitation expiration. So if you are invited into an organization, here you have an amount of time that you can change here in order to have the invitation accepted. If it's not accepted within that time frame, it will basically it will not show you when the user is logged in on the application. So bear in mind that here the timeline here is in seconds. Here again the project access request, so you can request to the owner of or the admin of a project to access it if the admin makes the project visible in a public way, let's say. And this is also in seconds, so the admin will see your request within this time frame and might grant you access or not, of course. This is for the temporary files expiration in days here. So in between syncs, etc., there are temporary files that are being created as part of some caching and metadata type of things. So you can, if you have limited disk space, for example, in your system, you can reduce this like for, and if your team has a daily strategy of synchronization, for of course you can leave this like for a 2-day time of window or a 1 day, for example, in order to flush this temporary directory more often. If not, you can just leave the default settings as it is. And also the transfer. So one of the options that you have on Mergin Maps is to transfer ownership of the of a project, and this is also something that the other end or the other user can allow or not, and this is like the expiration, again not in days but in seconds in this case. So there are here some generic things that are that can be set here. So for example, as the Mergin logo URL. So here on the Mergin platform, there is a email template that is being sent for notification reasons, and one of the components is the logo of the in this case we use the Mergin Maps logo as an example, but of course you can have your own company logo here, and this is where you can change it. Here you can have a URL where you have the email available, or you can have the email on a specific folder inside the platform. Here are some of the specific things that you can also enable. So this is related with CE versions, so this is to be ignored under our EE installations. This is the part that we need to be aware on the EE installation. So in a nutshell, we don't have workspaces on the CE, so by default the only workspace that is available, it's called Mergin, but you can change this on CE to another name. In the case of EE, of course, we have unlimited workspaces that you can have, and the main bits that you need to be aware are the default workspace storage size. By default, I think it's 500 gigabytes, but you can change this number. The workspace invitation expiration, so if an admin of a workspace invites you to belong to a certain workspace, it has this expiration date by the days by default. The same thing for the project transfer. So if admin transfers you the ownership of a project, you have 7 days to accept it or not. And also the expiration of the workspace. It has like 7 days before it is really deleted. So this is again on a workspace level, in a kind of a hierarchical level, when you delete a workspace, remember that you are not only deleting the workspace, but also all the projects that live under a specific workspace. So beware that probably this value might be you might want to have like a higher number here in order to safeguard you for something that might go wrong. And here again, the user self-registration, that it was duplicated on top. And also a very important one is to have or not the users regular user to have a workspace. So by default, all the users that you allow on your Mergin Maps platform will have the permission to create their own workspaces. This might be useful or not, depending on your work case. For example, just to have like a sandbox type of workspace for them to work on their own specific things. But if you don't want to have it, the users not want to your platform to have a lot of users level workspaces, you should disable this function in order to have for the users not to be able to create their own workspaces. In this case, I will flag it as false in order not to have them created. And I believe for now, yes, for now this is the main important pieces that we will change. Later we will talk about maps on the Mergin Maps platform, the enablement, and we will talk shortly about SSO that is also available for Enterprise Edition Mergin Maps platform. So now I will save this file and we are ready to perform our first test deployment. Let me change